Michael Stahl, or Turtle the King, and welcome to episode 3 of To Every Planet. Today we are going to Duna, or the Mars analog of the Kerbal system, and you can see it's the yellow highlighted one on the screen. It's one planet further away from the sun than Kerbal is, and so because I have 2 hours of footage, and I had to cut it down to 34 minutes. I kind of skip a few things, so I'll just be showing you kind of a taste of interplanetary travel. This is the lander on top of the Orion lifting stage, and you can see it's got a strange design because it's actually a sky crane. And the interesting with this is, you'll see it's quite an interesting landing procedure, but the top stage with the 4 engines will slow down the lander with 3 crew until about a kilometre above the surface, and at this stage, when it runs out of fuel, it will eject and parachute down, and the lander will disconnect, steer out of the way, and parachute and burn. So, we're coming up at 10 kilometres soon, and we've dropped the first section of the asparagus staging. Initiating gravity turn. You can see we have Bob and I want to say Neil, Fred, and Giroli, but I know I'm not right, so I'm just going to say Bob and the other two. Bob, along with Dandorf Kerman, as you may have seen if you've been watching my KSP Let's Play, you'll see Dandorf Kerman on a table in space. They are now equally, Bob and the other two are now the most travelled Kerbals that I've ever had, because they've been to 4 celestial bodies, including Kerman. So you can see that the other yellow orbit here is Voyager 2. Also, in that same episode of the Let's Play, I deorbited Voyager 1, which would have taken us to Duna, but it was a bit old, and this is a much better design. So I just need to rendezvous and dock with this to transfer the crew into it, and then this will act as another lifting stage. Yeah, we have slight problems here with us staging, so don't worry, everything goes fine. I'm just coasting really now, but yeah, it was just that my engine staging was off, so the first stage for my lander was burning at the same time as the lifting body. It's not ideal, but it's alright, it's an easy fix. Still going up. And we are about to hit space. Yeah, there we are. We are officially in space, 70 kilometers or 69.8 something. So I'm going to be introducing a new series into KSP, which will be it's going to be tutorials on how to build a rocket, how to change your orbit, how to rendezvous and dock, how to design a good, efficient lifting body, all these things. And tell me if you have any questions in the comments, and I will include it in the series. So you see, just burning the apparatus up. So normally I would go to my station to refuel, or to dock, but this time it's the Voyager, and it's got a much lower orbit, which actually makes it slightly more difficult to dock with, because everything's moving a bit more quickly and you get more of a Coriolis effect. Or let's say the curvature is more pronounced, and so when you are going in an orbit, it drifts away much quicker. So we are, got a good thing. And because that took another 15 minutes, we're going to skip ahead. So you don't have to watch me do all the maneuver nodes. Maneuver nodes. Pretend I know what I'm saying. It's actually quite close. I had a minor embolism doing this. It's happened more than once, but because this ship is a little bit it's quite top heavy, and I designed the RCS for just the bottom stage to dock back with Voyager when we're around Duna. And that actually makes it slightly lopsided when it's got the sky crane on it. And so I get into a few close scrapes even with the Voyager. but we dock eventually. Just getting it under control, and if you look at the nav ball, you get those two nodes lined up, and you get everything. If you get your pink circle with your prograde marker, and you line up your nav with those, you can dock. That's basically how you dock. I'll go into it more in detail in my tutorial series. I need a better name for it, but be how to KSP. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Right, so you can see, 200,000 meters, and we're docked. So transferring the crew. Transferring the crew over into the Voyage 2, so that they're, just in case anything happens. You can see the ladders and everything. It's my newest big project, was building Voyager 2. And it's actually quite well engineered. It's the heaviest thing I've ever put into orbit. It's 70 tons. And so I had to put that one in orbit, which was an absolute pain in the bum. Right, got the second guy out. So yeah, this is the boring bit, but you know, once we get this through, we can go to Duna, which we are all waiting for. If you're watching the video, I suppose, and you know what we're doing. Right, so one guy to go, and then this burn, you can see, this burn here, lining up for it now, actually took me 35 minutes, because it's such a heavy ship, and you see, if you can see those nuclear engines, we haven't used those before, but the nuclear engines are very efficient. They're the most efficient rocket engine, but they have almost no thrust, and with a station that weighs 70 tons and two tiny engines, and trying to burn out of the sphere of influence of Kerbin, which it's twice as far away as Minmus, which is 4 times away as far as the moon, which is 22 and a bit times further than my station. You can see how much distance we're kind of breaking here. In fact, we're going about 1 billion meters, so 1,000 times further out than, well, 100 times further out than the moon. So you can see this is me adjusting my orbit, getting a maneuver node, and you see the yellow orbit, again that's Duna, and we need to line that up so that we get an encounter. It's basically like an encounter with the moon, but it's a lot harder to get because of how far you're going, and you need to time it very well. So this is me doing a bit more of a burn, just to give you a bit of a more interesting view. And you can see the 2 tabs will line up, and I'll get an encounter. It's in the bottom left, so there, and the orbit goes purple because that shows the orbit after I've gone through the encounter. And because it's not changed a lot, that means I'm going to be coming in so fast, I hardly even have a difference. I'm going to be coming in quite fast, basically. Around 8 kilometers per second. That's faster than we've ever been, basically, by about 2 times. I think at my highest point I got 12 kilometers per second, or 12,000 meters per second, coming in. When we go to Eve or Moho, we'll be getting much higher speeds than that. But yeah, 12,000 meters per second is quite a speed to be achieving. So yeah, I kind of forgot about him, and I was worrying about him because I kept looking inside of the cockpit and I couldn't see one of the crew. And so I had a minute, and then I realised that Bob, I think it was Bob, wasn't in. Getting the roll right, and you can see the docking port's a little bit flimsy because of the mass of everything. A little bit of torque going on, but it's alright. It doesn't make that much of a difference. So just going the time acceleration. This is 100,000 time warps, by the way, so you can see the massive distances travelled. And that's the sun going around the sun. We are free from every sphere of influence except for the sun. We are essentially our own asteroid, or we are our own planet, almost. Although I know a planet has to be spherical and has to be clear of its debris, and it's already cutting through two planets' orbit, so I mean it can't fill that. But you know the idea. So the closer we get, the more exciting it is, and one of the challenges is trying to spot the planet. Now you won't be able to spot it from this distance because we are incredibly far away, much too far away to be even remotely able to see it. However, we'll be able to see it soon. See, this clip is just to show you how long it takes to get places. I think it was something like, I'm making a complete guess here, but I think it was something like 300 days? 396 days, something like that. But yeah, you can see it getting closer. And closer still. Oh, right, so this is us in the sphere of influence, and the most efficient way to actually get in to a planet, to an orbit, is to dampen the velocity by going into the atmosphere and doing an aero capture. Now, an aero capture is also a very risky procedure, as you'll see in a minute, because you basically throw yourself into the atmosphere, catch on fire, and hope to decelerate. And it's quite spectacular. It's like re-entry, but on a much grander scale. And also, here's Duna, the beautiful red planet, and you can see the awe-inspiring blue twilight of that, and the sunrise. I love Duna is my favorite planet of all of them. I'm not sure why. I just prefer it. I think it's just because of the color and the everything about it is just quite breathtaking. So you can see coming in, and we are officially in the atmosphere. But the atmosphere on Duna is really thin, so you won't be able to see any real air braking until we get down to about 15 kilometers. Now on Kerbin you'd see it at 35 kilometers, but the Kerbin is much bigger and has much thicker atmosphere. So 32 kilometers, we would be getting re-entry on Kerbin, but because, as I said, the atmosphere is so thin, we don't really get any effects. So what I'm doing now is turning it sideways to increase the drag. So if I turn it sideways, there's more surface area to be hitting the air, so it's less aerodynamic, and so it will slow down quicker, basically. So set it spinning for stability, because if I didn't, the flimsy solar panels, not solar panels, the flimsy docking port would break off, and so I try to set it rolling a little bit, but the SAS kicks in again. You can see it's a very effective way. 12,000, and spectacular re-entry effects on Duna. The front side glowing, and we're heading into the sunrise. Oh, that there is Ike. You can see we're going in quite quickly, and so you can see a moon set. You can see we're going in so fast that everything is setting and rising visibly quickly. Still getting effects, still at 12,000. Lovely sunrise. We are essentially, we are literally 12 kilometers above the surface, 14 now, but we're going so fast, we're still going to break the sphere of influence. On Kerbin, it's 3,900 meters per second to escape velocity, which is how much you need to get out of an orbit. But on Duna, it's only 1,300, which means that it's not hard to escape its sphere of influence at all. So I spend a lot of time actually doing the burn to get me back to the orbit. But I think I skipped that, which will be really good for you because I was very OCD with it, and it's at 52 kilometers either side, sorry. So good, just checking everything's intact, and it is. And the lovely landscape below, and the sunrise, very picturesque. I'm sure Bob and the other two guys are very happy to be around Duna. They are the 5th, 6th, and 7th people ever to orbit Duna. Because only 3 people before these have ever stood on the surface. these will be the 4th, 5th, and 6th to ever walk on the surface of Duna, because I've only ever had 2 other missions here. But, yeah. Right, so I believe I skipped the burn. Okay, so we are... Okay, well, I skipped most of the burn. But we still got a little bit of the burn that I'm showing. So you can see that we've not quite made it into orbit. We've still got an escape trajectory. And so what we do need to do is to slow down a little bit more until we, have a stable orbit. And so, full burn still takes ages because of the mass, again, of the spacecraft. Even though we're down to half of the fuel we originally had, which will cut our mass nearly in half, we still have about 35 tons to slow down with these 2 weak engines. So that took a while. It's alright, because I've skipped most of it for you. So, yeah, so we're going about twice, or 1.5 times. I can't read the numbers actually. So we're going... Okay, so now we're back into an orbit of 50 kilometers roughly, because, well, the atmosphere starts at 50, and so we want to be as close to the atmosphere as possible, so it's as easy as possible to get back into orbit and dock with the Voyager once we've landed, because we don't want to be spending a lot of fuel getting back up. So the smallest orbit, is more efficient. Now we're coming in a bit of an incline, which is not bad, but I just kind of iron out all the creases in the orbit, because I'm cool like that. And so you see, evening out, I get it as even as I can, just without spending excess fuel. And so there we are. 57 by 56. That's right, because the atmosphere starts at 52. Alright, so you can see Ike in the background, and magnificent, magnificent Duna. So you can see the landing legs out, just doing a bit of a test. Wonderful sunrise. Everything around Duna I find to be very picturesque, and that's why I think that's why I like it so much. Okay, so we need another crew transfer out of the Voyager, which we will be doing soon, so that we may disengage and go for landing, which is exciting. That's the good bit. It's the bit we've all been waiting for. Right. Just lining up so that it's just a bit simpler to do the to do the crew transfer. So first we need to get out Neilfrid. There we go. Turn on your lights. He is the first Kerbal to go outside for quite a while. They've been trapped in there for over a year, which I can imagine would be very enjoyable. So just get them in there. They're all tingling with excitement at the prospect of being able to touch down on the surface, but also very nervous because this is it's a safe lander design. It's never failed me. Of course, I've only ever done it once, so it's very reliable though. I wouldn't worry, guys. It's my own design, like all of my ships. I was also thinking about doing a series where I just like can't find the words. Review, maybe? Yeah, review your ships that you send in. And that'd be cool. I could feature them. That's the word. Feature them on my channel. So tell me in the comments again. Please use the comments, guys. Tell me in the comments if you would like that. So here we are, just doing a bit of a check on the station, checking nothing's broken, checking the nuclear-powered atomic engines, making sure nothing's bad on the lander. That's quite important, as that would cause major issues. You can see, because we're so low, we're orbiting quite quickly over the surface. So he deems it's okay. and he proceeds to get into the cockpit. Good luck, guys. It's not the best jetpacker. So we are. Okay, so they're going to disengage now, and then they're going to set up their landing site, and then we're going to burn, deorbit, slow down, land, and then the rest. So what I'm checking now, I'm just going to refuel everything because we wouldn't want to run out of fuel. So skip ahead a little bit because I can, and we are disengaged. Voyager 2 has got us safely to Duna, and we finally separating, drifting away. This actually felt like something out of a movie when I did it. It was quite good. I enjoyed that. Right. So again, Ike. Ike. Spoilers, Ike. We're going there next. Ike. What? Who said that? Right. So we're going to fix the staging because it was a temporary fix earlier when I was getting into orbit. But now it's good. I'm just checking everything is going to work the way it's supposed to. And it looks like it is. So we're setting up all of all four of those top engines because that's what their job is. Their job is to slow us down until they run out of fuel. It just saves the actual bottom stage from burning all its fuel up, getting down, so that it can actually take off. Which is always good. Yep, fixing. Alright, so Voyager 2, see you later. So you can see the four engines working. I've got four jets up there. Well, they're not jets, they're aerospikes. So they're highly efficient, but really heavy, and they overheat easily. But because I'm not going to be using them for very long, they're the perfect kind of engine for a lander. So I've got 6 lights on this. Time accelerating away, even. And this is when the fun begins. We're just getting to a sufficient distance where our engines won't damage the station, because that wouldn't be ideal. So here we are, drifted away. And just looking for a good launch site. So that's the last mission, went there, and you can see the rover. It's called Determination. It had a broken wheel, but it managed to drive an eighth of the way across the planet, with me sitting there for hours. It managed to drive and get the resident to fix it, which was quite cool. That's why it's called Determination, because it was... Well, I mean, you can get the picture. Right, so this is the proposed landing site, you can see with the node. So we're going to be landing in the nice lower regions. That's where there's a thicker atmosphere, and it's at pretty much sea level, if not sea level. So it's just the easiest place to land. Although the polar regions would be quite interesting, wouldn't they? We're going to have to do that in an episode. That would be interesting. So we're drifting away a little bit further to get to the node. Everything around Duna is a bit smaller. It's about half the size of a Kerbin, I would say. Roughly half. It's got 38% of the gravity, just like Mars does. So it's about 2.6 meters per second. Excuse me. So here we are, actually coming down. So we've done the burn. You can see the station drifting away at higher velocity. And we've got a nice 45-degree incline now. It's not too shallow, not too steep. No, I don't know what that was. It's a good drop, basically. As we need to time accelerate, because burning from here would do absolutely nothing but change your direction, and it would just waste fuel. So the ideal time to burn would be, I'd say, 15 kilometers to start. But I do it a bit early here, because I want to change the direction. I'm actually heading into some mountains. If you can see, it's a slightly lighter patch, and we're looking for the darkest patch as possible. So we want to be landing, ideally, in that really dark browny red patch that I'm about to be passing over. We don't, but it's alright, we land just about on the edge. I can't quite remember this because I recorded this ages ago. I'm sorry about this, guys, I'm taking ages, but yeah, I'm beginning to forget parts. See, at full power, it actually springs back when the engines stop. Slightly concerning, but that's alright. It's alright, no damage done. So we continue to time warp down 18, 17, 16, 15 kilometers, at which point I begin to burn again. See, we're dropping a little bit more vertically now, but we're going quite quick. I begin to panic slightly, coming down. Yeah, because if you look at we're going about 200 meters per second downwards. So we end up deploying the drogues, which are smaller parachutes that don't have as much. They don't fully open, basically. They just act to slow you down. Just enough, but not enough to land. So these are just aiding us. So we run out of fuel. And so this is when we eject the bottom stage, and something really cool happens here. So the parachute's open, it flies away, the top stage. I love that. That's like my favourite part of the whole recording. So decoupler dropping, and that actually also incidentally serves as a marker for how high up we are. And so when I look at that, it'll tell me the distance from the ground when it hits. And so when that explodes at about 600 meters down, which means I'm about, yeah, there we are, 600, 500 meters above the ground. And it's actually quite a handy indicator. So, finally under control. You can see the shadow on the red surface. It's very red. And final burn, final descent. Everything's going swimmingly. So yeah, just controlling it, coming in. We want to be going about 1 or 2 meters per second when we land, ideally. Just so it doesn't bounce or drift or anything. And touchdown. Successful landing by Bob and the other two. Right, got a good screenshot here. And you can see the top stage drifting downwards with its drogues. And so I think it'd be fun to actually try and land this thing. And I've got a slight cheat I figured out doing this. And you can actually produce a little bit of thrust if you're out of fuel by just spamming the thrust. You can see it acts like fireworks because it's constantly running out of fuel. But you can actually see yourself slowing down on the thrust. And so I have a bit of fun with that. And sadly, the only thing that does break is the probe core. So you can see all that smoke there. So I can't reuse it, which is a shame because I could have attached it back on to something or taken it off, used it as something. It's alright, I don't need it. So here we are, good panoramic view here. And we extend the antenna and the ladders so that they may abound the surface. I actually think it's a quite good looking lander, personally. It's a good sleek design. Okay, here we are. Bob Kerman, first man on Duna. Fixing the parachutes, just in case. You never know what might happen. Right, just in case anything bad happens. Oh, yep. Yep, that's broken. Yeah, the ladder turns out doesn't actually work. But it's alright because he's the first man on Duna, so you know. Good screenshot there. Bob Kerman becomes the most well-travelled Kerbal in history. Planting the glorious banner that is the Communatin Republic. And we give the site a name, which is Montes Perfecciones. And we're coming into the end of the video. I know it's sad, but anyway, we get a good picture going, and then we do a sweep, and 3 down, a lot more to go. See you guys next time.